Well, thank you so much for joining me, Suzanne. This is fantastic to talk to you. I work for the Women's Network here at DISH, and I'd love to ask you a few questions. First of which being, how has playing Laurie shaped your views of women in tech?
As an actor, I do like to do due diligence when I'm working on something, and it was important to me to make sure that what Laurie is doing and what she's bringing to the show, the things that I can contribute, are accurate representations of a woman in a tech position. I did a lot of reading and research, and what I found out, I guess, didn't surprise me terribly, but women are underrepresented in venture capital and tech, but not just a little underrepresented, unbelievably underrepresented. 60% of college graduates are female, 60%. And then 26% of graduates have STEM degrees. So that's already like, whoosh, what happened to that number, right? That's weird. And then you look at the fact that only 4 to 6% of startups have women in founder positions, and whatever, around that number are VCs. And the number's really bad in Silicon Valley.
And so how has being involved with the show or playing your character influenced your perspective about women in Silicon Valley or the business world as a whole?
I think it's made me think that we need to encourage some traits in women that maybe historically we've thought of as bad traits, but we need to nurture those traits, like confidence and aggressiveness. We need to try and teach our daughters and young women to embrace that part of themselves. You also want all the terrific qualities that women VCs bring. A study was done recently about women VCs, like within the past year, that they're actually more effective at dealing with change, at market analysis, and that women VCs actually outperform, even though their numbers are actually going down, women VCs actually outperform by about 2 to 3 times their portfolios, because they are good at keeping low cost, identifying market segments. They're really effective, and I think a lot of it has to do with the very fact that they are more risk averse, and that's been proven in studies. I mean, women are more risk averse, but there are, the fear factor is healthy. It's a survival instinct. So I think it's important to nurture confidence and arrogance and
saying I instead of we.
Yeah. Absolutely, and yet not squelching the fire of that empathetic, reasonable person who's willing to negotiate and understand the forest.
And so what advice would you give women who watch the show, whether it be in their careers, within life, within breaking into the tech industry?
I used to teach school. I did it the first year I got out of undergrad. And when I taught science, the class became chaotic, like in a wonderful, exciting way. Kids love science more than any other subject you teach because it integrates everything. You read, you do math, you understand the history of the world. So what's happening? Like, why then are women not sticking with it? Everybody loves science, and then you get into high school, and then college, and it gets hard, and math gets hard, and computer class gets hard. And I think when it gets really hard, men, and I don't mean this in a critical way, but white men in particular, when it gets hard, they say, it's hard, I've got to work harder. And when women and Latinos and blacks find themselves facing a challenge in math and science, they say, it's me. I'm not up to it. Not recognizing that everybody's struggling. Everybody is having trouble with, linear algebra or calculus or advanced computer programming or, whatever. You're allowed to have trouble. You're allowed to struggle. Like, that's okay to be bad at something and work through it, because that's the only way we're going to have a pipeline that gets graduates into these programs. And then we need to like change the recruiting techniques for a lot of the major corporations. Because there is already a pipeline there, and then there's a really drastic change in who's hired. Tech has infiltrated every single part of our lives. Right. This is our world, and if tech doesn't represent the face of America, it's not going to be serving America's needs.
Right.
It needs to reflect, it needs to be at least somewhat of a mirror. We can't have it just be a monoculture that doesn't speak to our country.
It's a great answer. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
It's my pleasure.
This was amazing.
Thanks for, pushing for creating a more interesting world.
Of course, anytime. Thank you.
Thanks.